One of the best ways to catch shallow and mid-depth bass in the summertime, and really any time of the year, is with the swim jig. This is just a 4x4 bait. It goes pretty much anywhere. It works great in vegetation, laydowns, stumps, docks, rocks, whatever. It's just a great go-to bait. But there's a lot to this swim jig. I want to talk a little bit about the different weights of the swim jig, several different trailers you can try, and then the different colors and what they represent.
That was awesome bite. Decent fish. There we go. It's pretty decent fish on the old swim jig. Threw up there super shallow. That was a cool bite. Saw that thing come out and snatch it. I'm trying to fish deep. Well, we have been fishing deep, and I just can't get it to go out there. I mean, I think there's just still too many bluegill and too much bait up shallow. These fish haven't moved out yet, so we don't have much time. We've got maybe an hour left. And we're just gonna throw around this little Bama swim jig, 3/8 ounce. Swim it for a little bit. See if we can snatch up a few fish before it gets dark.
The jig I'll be referring to in this video is the Cumberland Pro Lures Bama swim jig. It's a swim jig that I've been fishing for the last couple years. It's got that kind of conical shaped head. It's got a very stout 4/0 mustad hook, 30-degree line tie, and I would say a medium to soft weed guard. You want a little bit of weed guard, but you don't want too much to where you got to really set the hook so hard. This is enough to get you through the cover, but it still allows easy penetration, which I feel is important. And it also has this little rattle. I've stripped down a version without the skirt, so you can kind of see what that rattle looks like on the jig head. It's kind of cool. This is a unique swim jig. If you want to get some of these Baitworks, you can use the code THN10, get you 10% off any order, not just for these swim jigs. But you can see how Isaac designed this shank here. Your skirt's going to go right here in this area, and then he's got a little section for this rattle, but you still have the little bait keeper back here. So everything's not crowded. You still got plenty of room to make this jig look and act like it needs to. Let's start off with your shad patterns, your white. There's a lot of bass and shad doing battle right now. You know, there's always a shad spawn in May on most of these lakes. So you've got a lot of small shad in the system right now. And then bass naturally school up in the summertime. So white is a really good color to be throwing right now. I mean, I'm always gonna have a bluegill color, and I'm always gonna have a white color tied on at any given time. 3/8 ounce and quarter are my most common weights. Quarter I'm going to be using for fishing really shallow, typically 0 to 5 feet, when I want to kind of float that jig around some of the brush and some of the vegetation, the holes in the vegetation, the grass lines, things like that, lily pads, docks, whatever. You're just looking for more of a floating presentation, and we'll talk about some of the trailers that do different things. 3/8 is something where I'll still fish the shallow, but I'm gonna have to move it a little bit faster. So if I want to fish it shallow and I want a little more speed, I go up to 3/8, but 3/8 also allows me to fish a little bit deeper. You can comfortably fish this out there around 7 or 8 feet and still feel like it's doing something. Most of the time, I'm going to be throwing this when I think the bass are feeding on shad. There's times early in low light conditions where it's just a complete reaction thing, so it really doesn't matter what they're feeding on. They just, how white fish like white. But majority of the time, it's a shad deal when I'm throwing this white. whether they're ganged up on schools of shad or if they're just shad in the grass or around the dock pilings and the corners and stuff. That's when I'm going to be going with white. Majority of the time, I'm going to be throwing some sort of a swim bait, like a 2.8 or a 3.3. The Big Bite Baits Pro Swimmer has been a really good one. A Kitech. There's a bunch of good swim baits out there, but this has been one that has been a really good one for me. White, usually. The Reaction Innovation Skinny Little Dipper is another one that I use quite a bit, but some sort of a shad color is gonna work. Just something that matches this. I don't usually mix and match the white. Now I will mix and match when I'm doing the bluegill thing, but for white, if I'm gonna be fishing this thing, kind of a straight retrieve, a little bit deeper, the swim bait is what I'm gonna be doing. And there's a little trick you can do with the swim bait. If you want to fish that thing a little shallower and keep it up a little bit higher in the water column, you can actually take this thing, instead of rigging it with the paddle down like that, you can flip it up, and this causes it to rise just a little bit. I'm not articulating that well, but basically straight retrieve when you're definitely imitating shad, a little swim bait is the way to go. The other options that I do at times, we've got this little Kamikaze Swim On split tail. This is a great little swim jig trailer. They have the Swim On, the original Swim On, or a chunk. Now, typically when I'm throwing this trailer or the chunk, I'm trying to really float it. I'm doing what this jig was actually designed to do, which is the Alabama shake. Throwing it out, and it's kind of like you're dangling a minnow or shaking a minnow. You're doing the same thing with this swim jig. Your rod tip is up high, you're not gonna slacken your line, and this thing is really floating. You're targeting bass that are looking up, and you're going around holes and along, bushes. If you've got flooded bushes, just shaking a swim jig with a white chunk on the back of it is a great way to get those fish that are sitting there suspended to come up and grab this thing. So that's basically it. 1/4, 3/8. You can throw a 1/2 ounce jig out a little bit deeper. I've done that and had pretty good success on that. But typically a 1/4 ounce, 3/8 ounce swim jig or swim bait style trailer, or some sort of chunk trailers are my main go-tos. One other trailer that works really well is this Menace type grub. It's a twin tail grub. It's got a good lift. This is kind of a hybrid in between the swim bait and the chunk. Great for mid depths. So between the three, you can figure out what the fish want. I mean, this is it's hard to go wrong with this one too. So you gotta kind of have all three of those. I would say normally if I'm fishing really stained, dirty water and the fish are really relating hard to the bushes, some sort of a chunk is going to be the way to go when you're really wanting to pump this. And then for the other situations, the swim bait or the Menace twin type grub is the way to go.
Little swim jig fish.
On the bluegill side of things, I keep it fairly simple. It's mainly going to be some form of a crawl. I don't typically use the swim bait. I know some folks do, but I'm thinking a little more action and a little more crawl. This is the Candy Gill color. Same company. This is the Bama swim jig by Cumberland Pro Lures. Same weights, a 1/4 and a 3/8 for the same purposes that I mentioned when we were talking about the white. But one thing I do like to do when I'm representing a bluegill is I have a tendency to mix and match the skirt and the trailer colors. So this has got some green pumpkin and some watermelon in it. but I'll be throwing a blue trailer. This is called Blue Shin. This is the Yamamoto Crawl, the 3-inch crawl. I really like to mix these up. I mean, a bluegill's got a lot of different colors in it, and I feel like this covers the whole spectrum of the bluegill. Now, there are times where you have I believe they're called green sunfish. They're a darker bluegill. I will go with a black and blue swim jig and a green pumpkin trailer, or this Blue Shin. So that's another color that I'm not going to talk a whole lot about, but black and blue is an excellent colored swim jig as well. So we talked a little bit about the Yamacraw. This is the same Yamacraw, but this is a green pumpkin. This is what it looks like. It comes in this clamshell. It's a 3-inch crawl. That's an excellent swim jig trailer. It's not super overpowering. It's got decent action. You know, it's got a pretty good amount of flippers, and it's great all around. Another one that you can use is the Strike King Rage Crawl. It's bigger. I mean, when you compare the two, this has got a lot longer body to it. It's got bigger flippers. It's going to have more action. It floats the swim jig a lot more. Sometimes when I want a lot of action in real shallow water, I'll throw like the quarter ounce Bama swim jig with this Rage Crawl on there, and you can really float it. It's got a lot of this kind of action, but it just depends on the day. Two different style trailers, but both crawl style trailers. And then the third crawl trailer that I'll talk about is the Zoom Speed Crawl. And you can see the difference in all these crawls with the flippers. I mean, the Bama Crawl, the Yama Crawl versus the Speed Crawl. The Yama Crawl's got kind of wider, shorter, stubbier pinchers, a little bit fatter body. Speed Crawl's a lot narrower. It's got more subtle, more finesse action. These flippers, they don't really move a lot of water like the Yama Crawl does, but they do have the little bluegill. I mean, it's just it's more of a finesse-y style trailer. And there are days when they show a preference for one of the others, but green pumpkin or some sort of a blue, you know, kind of mix and matching. I will throw this on a black and blue as well as that candy crawl. So there's nothing wrong with going the same color, but I've had a lot of success doing this right here. Just kind of mixing and matching the colors. One more thing that you can throw on the bluegill colored swim jig is also that menace type of grub. You know, obviously in green pumpkin, I wouldn't be throwing this on the green pumpkin swim jig, but I kind of keep it green pumpkin on the menace. And something else I forgot to tell you about. This is kind of a sneaky little swim jig trailer. Just a flip around and find out, or Action Innovations Sweet Beaver, just a beaver style bait. It's nice and flat. You know, what you're going to find is when you throw a trailer that's got this flat spot on it, it's going to allow you to really glide that thing and kind of work it around the cover. And it just doesn't have a ton of action. It's not going to have near the action that the Yama Crawl has, but it's still got a little bit of this going, kind of like the Chunk. So you just kind of got to figure out what's working. I really think you need to try different trailers throughout the course of the day before you eliminate a swim jig from your arsenal. But most days, if you keep a swim jig in your hand, you're going to get a few bites. It's just a great all-around way to catch fish regardless of the season.
Damn. Another big one. Just let him eat it. Don't know if that's the same fish or not. Swim jigs get it done though.
It really works well when you've got slick conditions. You got clear water, a little bit of stained water. I mean, I've even caught them in muddy water on like a black and blue swim jig. But on days when the chatterbait is a little too much, or spinnerbait is a little too much, or even a crankbait, even a little square bill is a little too much, that swim jig is a lot more subtler. It's more of a finessey presentation, and you can pick up some bites. It skips excellent. I mean, you can skip swim jig way back in just about anything and work it out. It comes through cover really good. One thing you want to do with a jig is you want to spread that weed guard out just a little bit. I typically just kind of do that, just kind of pull on these fibers. It just gives you a little more cover for that hook point, and you're going to be able to come through that cover significantly better.
We need that one. There we go. So big. Oh, that was awesome. Saw a little wake up there. This fish is up there chasing bluegills. Good solid fish, eh? Nice, that was fun. Just absolutely clobbered it.
As far as the rod, a rod that I've been using the last couple of years is made by Virtus. It's the Phoenix Virtus. It's their swim jig rod. It's a Red Diamond series. It's a 7'2". It's made for swim jigs, but really a 7 foot to 7'3" medium heavy works great for swim jigs. Just something with some tip. You know, you need a little bit of tip, not only for casting accuracy and working the bait, but a little bit of tip allows it to load up. Like when a fish hits it, you want it to load up a little bit. Same thing with a chatterbait. You know, you want that fish to be able to load up. If you've got too stiff of a rod, you're going to pull it away from the fish. So it's kind of a softer tip, helps you with accuracy, helps you to skip it. 7 foot to 7'3".
Do it. Don't do it. Jesus. Every time I put my hand in his mouth, he wants to jump. Gotcha.
I use fluorocarbon. A lot of people use braid. A lot of people use fluorocarbon. It's really kind of up to you. I've used braid in the past, and it works great. It works great through vegetation stuff, but I don't know, I'm not too much of a fan of braid because I think maybe they can see it a little more, and I'm just used to fluorocarbon. Okay, so 15 to 17 pound fluorocarbon. If you've got a really shallow bite and you're fishing for really big fish or on really heavy cover, you can certainly throw like a 20 pound. I mean, I'm sure some people even throw mono, but 15 day in and day out fluorocarbon is the way to go. And a 7 foot or a 7-to-1 gear ratio reel, you know, just a lose. I've been throwing a lose around quite a bit for years and years. They make a really good reel, but something in that 7-to-1 to 8-to-1 gear ratio, something a little bit fast. You can move that bait. You're covering water a lot of times with this swim jig, and you know, a lot of times you're just going down the bank and you're throwing it around anything that you see. You can certainly throw it out deeper. You can scope with it. You know, if you got suspended fish out there that won't hit a minnow, sometimes they'll hit a swim jig. If you see fish coming up out in the middle of the lake, busting on shad, you can certainly throw this thing out there, burn it through them, kill it. It just generates a lot of strikes. So if you haven't, you know, if you're not familiar with the swim jig, man, get some. I'm telling you, they're a really great way to catch fish pretty much any time of the year. They're easy to fish. Another thing I'll tell you is I do a lot of English, you know, a lot of twitching, a lot of moving, pulling to the side, slowing it down, speeding it up. And if I go back and watch my videos, a lot of my fish catches, regardless of the kind of moving bait I'm throwing, happen when I'm doing something a little bit different.
Damn trailer. And that fish ate it. Look at that. Absolutely ate it. I think he wanted that through my trailer off, but Man, smoking this thing.
You can certainly catch them just throwing it out and reeling it in, but if you throw it out, you know, you pull it up a little bit, just kind of slow it down, reel it, twitch it once or twice, reel it, just kind of slow down your reel, speed it up a little bit, move it a little bit to the side. It just needs to be doing this stuff most of the time. You're going to generate a lot more strikes than if you just throw it out and reel it straight in.
Decent fish. There you go. Hey, that's gonna wrap it up, folks. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. Man, we had a short day. I mean, did a bunch of landscaping work, cut and trimmed and all that stuff, and then we got out here for just a few hours. I mean, I looked deep for several hours and just couldn't find it. So about the last 45 minutes, we pulled up here shallow, and we're just targeting bluegill beds. It's a bunch of bluegill up here spawning, and just throwing this 3/8 ounce Cumberland Pro Lures Bama swim jig. And I got just a little speed crawl on the back of there. Throwing on that Virtus swim jig rod, 7'3", no, 7'2". That thing is, it's so sensitive. Love it. But water temp's like, what is it? 83 degrees. 83 degrees. You know, you think they'd be pulling out, but they're not. They're still up here shallow. They're feeding on bluegill, and until their food source diminishes shallow, they're gonna stay up here shallow. But we got some pretty good fish, man. I jumped off a good solid 4-pounder. I got that big one in the boat. It was probably close to 5, and man, it was fun. Fun short day. So until next time.